Neglected ship becomes the most powerful weapon. Thanks to a human mechanic, the shipyard was quiet. Too quiet for a place that once rang with the hum of machinery, the voices of engineers, and the clanging of metal. Now it was abandoned, like a graveyard of machines. Rust crept over the hulls of old ships, and dust floated in the shafts of dim light that penetrated the massive windows. Most of the fleet had moved on, leaving only the forgotten, the broken, and the obsolete behind. Among these relics was one ship in particular. A warship, once mighty, now corroded and neglected. Its edges were chipped, its paint faded, and most of its systems had been deactivated for years. Aliens who had seen it walk past, shaking their heads in disdain. Junk, they said, worthless. Even the smallest human could do nothing with it. Yet here, in the midst of the silence, a human worked. His coveralls were smeared with grease, his hands blackened from years of handling tools and machinery. He moved quickly, carefully, checking pipes, wires, and circuits, his eyes bright with curiosity. The human mechanic had a reputation, not among aliens who ignored him, but among those who knew humans, a stubborn, intelligent species that could turn trash into treasure, ruin into weapon. He examined the hull first. Most of the rust could be repaired, but the real work lay inside. The engines, long silent, still held traces of hidden potential. The aliens had stopped understanding them centuries ago. They had declared the ship beyond repair, not because it couldn't fly, but because it didn't fit their rigid, predictable designs. The mechanic ran his hand along the energy core. It pulsed faintly under his touch. "You're not as dead as they think, are you?" he muttered. Humans like to give names to machines, to treat them as partners, as allies. To the aliens, a machine was nothing more than metal and energy. But humans saw potential, patterns, and sometimes even a soul in metal. He climbed into the control room, his boots echoing on the steel floor. Panels hung loose, screens flickered weakly, and the scent of ozone and rust mixed in the stale air. His eyes scanned the console, noting the strange patterns of circuits. He chuckled softly. They forgot to lock this part. Amateur mistake. Hours passed as he worked. Tools clicked, sparks flew, and slowly, systems began to hum again. Small lights blinked to life. The ship was waking, though it didn't yet know it. The mechanic worked with precision and patience, rerouting circuits, adjusting the energy flow, and repairing tiny faults that alien engineers would have ignored. He worked alone, but he was not lonely. Humans thrived in challenges like this. They saw problems as puzzles, and machines as partners. Outside, a squad of alien engineers passed by. They had heard rumors of the human tinkering with the forgotten ship and decided to see for themselves. They floated near the windows, their elongated forms silhouetted against the sky, whispering in clicks and chirps. "The human again," one hissed. "Do you see any results?" Another snorted. "None. He can't even fix a simple system without burning something." The human didn't hear them. He was too busy connecting the last wires of the main engine. A faint hum grew into a steady vibration. The ship shivered, as if stretching after a long sleep. Panels blinked brighter. Screens lit up. And then, slowly, the ship's systems began to synchronize. The alien engineers gasped. "It moves," one whispered. But the human wasn't celebrating yet. There was still work to do. The ship was alive, but it was fragile. A small misstep, and it could fail completely. He adjusted the energy conduits, carefully balancing the power. "Almost, just a little more," he murmured. He moved to the weapons system. Most of the ship's cannons were outdated, their technology inferior to modern fleets. But the human smiled. There was a pattern here, a hidden advantage that aliens could not see. He rewired the targeting systems, creating redundancies and backups. If a cannon failed, another would take over instantly. Efficiency, Humans called it flexibility. Aliens called it strange and unpredictable. Night fell over the shipyard, casting long shadows through broken windows. The alien engineers had left, convinced the humans' work was worthless. But he continued, oblivious to their laughter. Sweat ran down his face, mixing with the grease on his hands, but his eyes shone with determination. He had a vision, one that only a human could see. This broken relic could become something more, something powerful, something the galaxy would not expect. The first test was simple. He initiated the ship's propulsion system. Sparks flew, systems whirred, and the ship trembled as power surged through its circuits. A soft glow emanated from the engines, faint at first, then growing brighter. The ship shuddered, almost as if it were taking a deep breath. The human stepped back, wiping his hands on a rag. "Good. You're still alive. We'll make you stronger." He moved to the shield system. Aliens had long abandoned the old shield design, thinking it obsolete. But the human saw possibilities. He adjusted the energy matrices, rerouted power through unconventional channels, and tested redundancies. Slowly, a faint barrier shimmered around the ship, invisible to the naked eye but active nonetheless. Hours turned into days. The human worked tirelessly, sleeping in short bursts aboard the ship, eating cold rations and constantly analyzing systems. Every day brought new discoveries. Hidden compartments revealed old weapon modules, dormant engines, and data caches. Every piece of the ship had a secret, waiting for someone clever enough to unlock it. And humans were clever. One evening, as the alien sun set behind the distant mountains of the shipyard, the human sat in the control room, exhausted but satisfied. He had done something incredible. Systems that aliens thought were useless now hummed with life. The ship no longer looked like junk. It had a presence, a silent promise of power. Suddenly, the main console blinked. A small screen flickered, showing a warning signal. The human frowned. "What is it?" He traced the signal to a dormant core deep within the ship. It had not been touched for centuries, sealed off because aliens thought it too unstable. The human studied it carefully, reading ancient schematics and making mental notes. This core, if harnessed, could provide enough energy to make the ship faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the galaxy had seen. But it was risky. Too much power, and the ship could tear itself apart. Too little, and the opportunity would be wasted. The human smiled, a mix of excitement and determination in his eyes. "You and I, old friend, we're going to make history." The first systems test was completed, and the ship responded perfectly. Engines hummed, shields flickered, weapon systems lit up. The human leaned back, exhausted, but a thrill ran through him. The ship had potential, and humans had a way of unlocking it where others failed. Outside the shipyard, distant patrols passed. They had no idea what was happening inside the forgotten hall. Aliens would continue to underestimate humans. That was always their mistake. Humans thrived when no one believed in them. They saw opportunity where others saw hopelessness, and they turned weakness into strength. As the stars rose in the alien sky, the human mechanic stepped out of the control room, rubbing his eyes. He looked at the ship, now alive in a way it had not been for centuries. He felt pride, not arrogance, but the satisfaction of a human who had seen potential where others had seen failure. And somewhere deep inside the ship, systems hummed in agreement. It had recognized its human partner. Together, they would change everything. But for now, the galaxy remained unaware. Aliens laughed at the humans' effort, mocking the rusted relic. They did not yet understand. And humans were patient. The human mechanic woke before the alien suns rose, his mind already racing. He had barely slept, and the ship hummed softly around him, alive in a way no alien craft had ever been. To anyone else, it was just a rusted relic. To him, it was a puzzle waiting to be solved, a machine waiting to become something extraordinary, He climbed into the control room, eyes scanning every blinking console. Today, he had a new task: unlocking the hidden systems buried deep within the ship. Centuries of neglect had left layers of forgotten mechanisms, and most of them were designed in ways aliens could not understand. Humans, however, had a way of thinking differently. Where the aliens saw chaos, he saw patterns. Where they saw danger, he saw opportunity. He started with the ship's core, a large chamber filled with dormant energy conduits and ancient circuitry. Dust covered the surfaces, but beneath it, the design was elegant and clever. The aliens had abandoned this core because it was too complex for their linear minds. Humans, however, thrived on complexity. The mechanic ran his hands along the panels, his fingers tracing the lines of circuits. He adjusted small relays, rerouted energy, and carefully reconnected systems. Slowly, the core came alive. Lights pulsed along its conduits, and the energy flow began to stabilize. It was delicate work. One wrong move could overload the core and destroy the ship, but he moved with confidence and precision. He smiled. "You're smarter than they thought, old friend," he whispered. Next, he moved to the weapons systems. The ship's cannons were old, their firing mechanisms outdated. Aliens had long discarded them as useless relics, preferring their modern, uniform designs. But the human mechanic saw potential. He removed damaged circuits, rewired targeting systems, and added a small human innovation: adaptive targeting software. The new system would allow the weapons to adjust automatically, learning from each shot. Where aliens relied on rigid calculations, humans relied on observation, intuition, and creativity. His system combined both. The cannons began to hum, lights flickering in response. The ship was learning. Hours passed. The mechanic moved from room to room, uncovering secrets that aliens had never considered. Hidden compartments revealed additional power cells, old shield modules, and even secret navigation data. Some of it was centuries old, some of it left behind by previous human engineers who had worked on the ship long before the alien fleets took over. He paused at a console displaying the navigation systems. A map of the galaxy flickered on the screen, showing distant star systems and alien fleets. Most of the lines were outdated, but he noticed patterns: weak points in enemy patrols, unexplored regions, and forgotten wormholes. Aliens had ignored these routes, relying only on predictable paths. Humans, however, thrived on unpredictability. The mechanic traced a path through the map connecting distant points. "If we go this way, they won't even know we're coming," he muttered. They never expected. Outside, alien engineers continued their rounds, oblivious to the work being done inside. They had heard rumors that a human was tinkering with the old ship, but they dismissed it. Humans were fragile, inefficient, and slow. They could not comprehend the depths of human ingenuity. One alien engineer floated near a window, observing the faint glow of the ship. "It is moving," it said in a hissing tone. "But it cannot operate at full power. Humans cannot understand such things." Another clicked in agreement. "Let it be. It will fail soon enough. They always do." The human mechanic, unaware of their whispers, was already deep in thought. He had discovered something remarkable. The ship's shield systems could be enhanced using a principle the aliens had forgotten. By rerouting excess energy from the engines into the shields, the ship could create a barrier stronger than any current model. It would take careful timing and adjustments, but he was confident. "You'll be untouchable," he said softly, almost reverently. "But only if we do it right." He began the delicate work. Energy conduits were rerouted, feedback loops tested, and shield matrices adjusted. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the ship shivered as power flowed through it in new ways. Slowly, a faint shimmer appeared around the hull. It was invisible to the naked eye, but active nonetheless, ready to absorb and deflect attacks. As he worked, he found additional hidden systems. Some were small, minor adjustments left by previous engineers. Others were more significant, weapon modules that could rotate in unexpected ways, energy amplifiers that could overcharge the cannons temporarily, and even a small propulsion boost system that could give the ship sudden bursts of speed. "These aliens never learn," he muttered with a grin. "They only follow rules. Rules are fine, but creativity, that's where the real power lies." Hours turned into a full day. The human worked tirelessly, moving from one system to another. He ate little, drank even less, and never rested. Sleep came in short bursts, often while monitoring the ship's progress. By the end of the day, the ship was no longer just a relic. It was alive, learning, and responding. Finally, he turned to the ship's main console, analyzing data collected over the day. The adaptive targeting software had already improved cannon accuracy. The shield system was fully operational, ready to absorb massive energy impacts. Even the engines had been recalibrated, allowing more efficient fuel use and faster maneuvering. The mechanic leaned back, exhausted, but satisfied. He had done something incredible. A ship that aliens had considered useless was now powerful, adaptive, and far beyond what they expected. Just as he prepared to rest, a small alarm sounded. He frowned, moving to the source. A hidden sensor in the ship had detected an approaching fleet, alien patrols. They were scanning the sector, looking for signs of activity. The human's eyes lit up. "Perfect timing," he muttered. Humans thrived under pressure. Where aliens panicked, humans adapted. Where they feared, humans acted. He adjusted the ship's systems quickly. Engines were primed, shields activated, and weapons prepared. The ship responded instantly, systems syncing in perfect harmony. It was as if the ship itself understood the danger and trusted its human partner to lead it. The alien patrol fleet arrived, scanning the area for threats. They saw the faint glow of the ship and paused. "What is that?" one hissed. "It cannot move. It is just a relic." Another floated closer. "It cannot be operational. Humans are weak. This is impossible." The human, hidden inside, smiled. "They always underestimate us," he whispered. "And that's their mistake." The patrol sent a probe toward the ship, a small, unarmed drone meant to inspect. The human had anticipated this. He activated the ship's adaptive systems, rerouting power to the shields and creating a temporary energy pulse. The probe was disabled instantly, sparks flying as it fell harmlessly into the void. The alien patrol gasped. "It defended itself." "How?" the human smirked. "It's learning," he said quietly. "And humans always find a way." The patrol fleet hesitated, unsure of what to do next. They had expected a weak, abandoned ship. Instead, they found a machine far more advanced than they could imagine. And behind that machine was a human, a species they had long dismissed, a species they had underestimated. The mechanic monitored their movements carefully. Every step, every calculation, every adjustment was precise. He knew the patrol could attack at any moment, but he was ready. Humans thrived in unpredictability. The aliens' rules did not apply to him. Hours passed. The patrol fleet eventually moved on, convinced that the ship posed no real threat. But the human knew better. The ship had responded perfectly. The systems had worked as planned. And most importantly, he had learned how the ship could react under real pressure. He leaned back, exhausted. But a sense of pride filled him. The ship was no longer just a forgotten relic. It was alive, adaptive, and ready for the challenges ahead. The galaxy had yet to see what a human and a machine could accomplish together. As night fell over the shipyard, the human looked out at the stars. He knew this was only the beginning. The ship held secrets still buried deep within its hull. Hidden weapons, untapped energy cores, and ancient technology waiting for someone clever enough to unlock it. And humans were always clever. The human mechanic barely slept. Each night brought new ideas, new possibilities, and new ways to improve the ship. It had been centuries since the craft had flown, yet under his hands it was no longer just a relic. It was alive, it was learning, and it was growing stronger every day. The ship's adaptive systems had begun to function autonomously. Cannons adjusted their aim faster than any alien computer could calculate. Shields absorbed energy and converted it into extra power. Even the engines, old and clunky, had been recalibrated to allow sudden bursts of speed no one would expect. The mechanic studied every reaction, making small tweaks, smiling as he observed the results. Aliens in the nearby systems had begun to notice. Reports came in of a strange vessel, moving unpredictably, evading patrols with ease and appearing where it should not. Fleet commanders dismissed these reports at first. A human alone could not pose any real threat. They were small, fragile, and inefficient. Their ships were primitive compared to the alien war machines. But the reports kept coming. Each encounter left aliens baffled. "It moves like it thinks," one commander hissed. "But it is only a human," another replied. "Humans cannot be smart enough to do this. It must be a malfunctioning ship." Inside the ship, the human mechanic smiled as he monitored these reports. The alien still underestimated him. That was exactly how humans thrived. Humans were clever, unpredictable, and adaptive. They turned every weakness into strength and every disadvantage into opportunity. The mechanic moved through the ship, checking systems. He focused next on the weapon modules. The cannons were old, but he had installed adaptive targeting software. Now each cannon could predict the movements of enemy ships before they made them. He added energy amplifiers, small but powerful, allowing a single cannon blast to carry far more power than any alien vessel expected. "Let's see how you do under pressure," he muttered, almost to himself. He activated a simulation, testing the ship against fleets far larger than anything a human should survive. The ship responded instantly, shields rising, weapons adjusting, engines propelling it forward in ways designed to confuse the enemy. It was perfect. The next day, the human took the ship out of the shipyard under the cover of darkness. Its movements were silent, almost ghost-like. Sensors detected nothing unusual until it was too late. The patrol fleets in the sector were stunned. A single ship had slipped through their scanning networks, a human-controlled relic moving faster, smarter, and more powerfully than anything they had ever seen. The aliens responded with confusion and fear. "It cannot be," one screeched. "A human controlling a warship?" Another clicked rapidly, trying to understand. "Impossible. Humans are weak. They cannot survive this." The human mechanic hidden inside the ship merely adjusted a lever and smiled. "They never learn," he whispered. He activated the adaptive weapons. Energy flowed through the cannons, pulsing in synchronization with the ship's sensors. A patrol ship moved toward him, a sleek vessel with advanced shields and heavy armor. The human predicted its trajectory before it fired a single shot. With a flick of his hand, a cannon rotated, firing a concentrated blast that disabled the patrol ship's engines. The alien crew panicked. "What is happening?" "How does it know where to fire?" The human watched quietly, monitoring the system's performance. Each movement of the enemy ship was anticipated, countered, and neutralized. The ship's shields absorbed stray energy blasts, converting them into power for a sudden propulsion boost. The patrol ship, expecting to trap a weak human vessel, was now a sitting target, completely outmaneuvered. By the time the patrol fled, the human ship had vanished into hyperspace. Reports spread like wildfire. A single human-controlled warship was defeating patrols and fleets far larger than itself. Aliens could not comprehend it. To them, humans were fragile, inefficient, and unworthy of serious attention. Yet here they were, watching their assumptions crumble. Back aboard the ship, the human mechanic did not celebrate. He was already thinking of the next step. The ship still had untapped systems, ancient cores, hidden weaponry, and adaptive modules that no alien mind could understand. Every day the ship grew stronger, more unpredictable, and more capable of survival against overwhelming odds. He moved to the engine room, checking the propulsion system. With careful adjustments, he had unlocked bursts of speed the ship had never been designed for. These bursts were short but devastating in combat, allowing sudden attacks or quick retreats. Aliens relied on predictable movements, but humans thrived on unpredictability. "Ready for the real test," he whispered. The real test came sooner than he expected. A massive alien fleet had been dispatched to hunt the strange vessel. Hundreds of ships, armed with the latest technology, converged on the sector. They expected to find a weak, abandoned ship, a human craft that could be captured or destroyed easily. They found something else. The human ship waited silently, cloaked by a combination of shadows and clever energy manipulation. When the fleet approached, the human activated the ship's systems. Shields flared briefly, then stabilized. Cannons aligned automatically, energy amplifiers ready. Engines powered forward, moving the ship into a position that gave maximum advantage. The aliens fired first. Massive beams of energy tore through space, expecting to hit a fragile human vessel. But the shields absorbed the attacks, converting the energy into power for countermeasures. The cannons responded instantly, firing precise blasts that disabled the nearest enemy ships. Panic spread through the fleet. "It cannot be! How is it surviving?" one commander shrieked. "We are the strongest fleet in this sector," another clicked rapidly, attempting to calculate. "It anticipates us. It predicts our moves. Impossible." The human watched quietly, adjusting systems as needed. Every cannon, shield, and engine worked in perfect harmony. Adaptive systems responded to every threat, every attack, and every maneuver. The ship moved unpredictably, striking the fleet in ways no alien had ever experienced. Hours passed. The human ship fought with precision, avoiding destruction while disabling the alien fleet systematically. Ships retreated, energy weapons exhausted, and commanders realized they were outmatched, not by numbers, but by human ingenuity. Finally, the battle ended. The fleet had withdrawn, leaving the sector under the control of a single human and his ship. Reports spread across the galaxy. Humans, once considered weak and insignificant, had proven they could outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight the strongest fleets in the sector. The human mechanic leaned back in his chair, exhausted but satisfied. The ship had performed beyond expectations. Every system worked in harmony. Every attack had been countered. Every weakness had been turned into strength. He smiled. "You've done well," he whispered to the ship. "But this is only the beginning." Aliens across the galaxy began to talk in hushed tones. "Humans, they are more than we thought," one admitted. "They are clever. They are dangerous." Another clicked in disbelief. A single human controlling a ship that defeats fleets? Impossible. But humans were not bound by alien expectations. They thrived on creativity, adaptability, and courage. Where aliens saw rules, humans saw opportunity. Where aliens panicked, humans acted. The human ship continued to patrol the sector, learning, adapting, and growing stronger. The galaxy had yet to see the full power of a human and a machine working together. And the human mechanic, humble and determined, knew that the best was still to come. He moved to the weapons control panel, checking the adaptive targeting system. It had learned from the battle, improving efficiency with each shot. The shields had absorbed incredible energy and now converted it more effectively into power. Engines could now execute maneuvers faster than any alien ship could predict. "Soon," he whispered. "Soon they will see why humans should never be underestimated." As he looked out at the stars, the human understood the truth of the galaxy. Humans were unpredictable, intelligent, and resilient. No matter how advanced alien technology became, no matter how powerful their fleets, humans could find a way to survive, and even to dominate. The ship, once a forgotten relic, had become the most powerful weapon in the sector. Not because of size, armor, or firepower alone, but because of the human who guided it. Together, they were unstoppable. and the galaxy would soon learn the full meaning of human ingenuity. The stars were bright against the black void of space, but the human mechanic barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the control panels before him. Outside the ship, alien fleets massed, thousands of ships converging on his position. They were armed, disciplined, and confident, ready to crush what they thought was a weak human craft. But they were wrong. The ship, once a forgotten relic, had grown into a masterpiece of human ingenuity. Every system had been optimized, adaptive weapons that could learn, shields that converted energy into power, engines capable of sudden bursts, and hidden modules waiting for the perfect moment. The human had pushed every limit, tested every possibility, and now the ship was ready. "Here they come," he muttered softly. He didn't need to shout. The ship was alive, sensing every movement, every threat. He felt a strange connection to it, as if it trusted him completely. And he trusted it. Humans thrived in challenges, and this was the ultimate one. The first alien ships fired, beams of concentrated energy streaking toward him. The human remained calm. With a few taps on the console, the shields flared to life, absorbing the attacks and converting the energy into more power for weapons and engines. The first wave of enemy fire bounced harmlessly off the hull, leaving the aliens stunned. "What? Impossible!" one commander hissed over the fleet's communication channels. "How does it survive?" "It's only one ship," another clicked in frustration. "It predicts us. It outmaneuvers us. There is no logic to its movement." The human smirked, hands flying over the controls. "There is logic," he muttered. "Just not theirs." He activated the adaptive weapons. Cannons rotated, energy amplified, and the first shots fired with deadly precision. Alien ships were disabled faster than they could react. Engines overloaded, shields collapsed, and massive explosions lit the void. The human ship moved unpredictably, striking and vanishing before the aliens could adjust. Hours passed, but the human remained focused. Every attack was calculated, every defense optimized. Where aliens expected predictability, they found creativity. Where they relied on brute strength, the human relied on intelligence, observation, and adaptability. But this battle was more than skill. It was a test of endurance. Alien fleets regrouped, launching wave after wave, trying new tactics. Some ships attempted to flank him. Others fired energy bursts in synchronized patterns. The human responded calmly, adapting systems in real time. Cannons adjusted automatically, shields pulsed, and engines executed maneuvers faster than any alien fleet anticipated. He smiled faintly. "They still don't get it. Humans are never predictable." The aliens tried everything they could. Massive energy waves, coordinated attacks, and experimental weapons. But the human ship was always one step ahead. It dodged, countered, and neutralized every threat. Adaptive systems learned instantly, improving efficiency with every move. What the aliens saw as chaos, the human saw as opportunity. Hours turned into a full cycle of the alien suns. The human ship was battered, but not broken. Systems worked flawlessly, learning from every attack. Shields had absorbed immense energy, converting it into power for engines and weapons. Cannons had disabled dozens of enemy ships. The fleet, once confident and proud, was in disarray. Finally, the human made his move. He activated the hidden modules he had discovered during months of work. The ship's engines flared, propelling it at a sudden, impossible speed. Energy cannons fired in patterns no alien could predict. The fleet's command ships, the largest and most dangerous, were hit simultaneously, their systems failing in unison. "Retreat!" one commander screamed. "We cannot stop it!" another clicked furiously. "It is only one human player, yet it defeats us all." "Impossible!" The human leaned back in his chair, exhaustion creeping in, but satisfaction shining in his eyes. He had done it. The fleet scattered, defeated not by numbers or firepower alone, but by creativity, intelligence, and adaptability, the hallmarks of humanity. The galaxy watched in shock. Reports from distant systems described a single human ship defeating massive alien fleets with precision and cunning. For centuries, humans had been dismissed, considered fragile and insignificant. Now, every civilization that heard the reports began to reconsider. Back aboard the ship, the human mechanic began repairs and recalibration. Shields were checked, weapons optimized, and engines tuned for the next challenge. The ship had performed brilliantly, but there was always room for improvement. Humans never stopped learning, never stopped adapting. That was their true strength. The alien fleets retreated, humbled and wary. For the first time, they realized humans were not to be underestimated. Other human ships began to arrive in small numbers, inspired by the stories of the single mechanic's ship. Slowly, the galaxy began to see humans as a force to respect, not ignore. The mechanic watched them arrive. "It's working," he murmured. "They're learning. They're starting to understand humans aren't weak." The ship itself seemed to hum in agreement, systems glowing softly in response. Together, human and machine had changed the course of the conflict. It was no longer just about survival. It was about proving that humans could rise above expectation, outthink the strongest fleets, and endure challenges that aliens thought impossible. As the human looked out at the stars, he thought of the future. There would be more battles, more challenges, and more enemies. But humanity had a secret weapon that no alien could replicate: intelligence, creativity, and the will to survive. He smiled faintly. The galaxy is watching, and they'll never forget what humans can do. The ship, once neglected and forgotten, now moved proudly through space. Its systems gleamed, adaptive and alive. Every cannon, engine, and shield worked in perfect harmony, guided by a human mind. Together, they had defeated impossible odds and changed the way the galaxy saw humans forever. Aliens across the sector whispered in disbelief. "They are more than we thought," one admitted. "Clever, dangerous, unpredictable." Another clicked quietly. "We cannot underestimate them again. Never again." The human mechanic, humble and focused, returned to his console. There was work to be done, systems to monitor, and lessons to learn. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of pride. The ship had survived, adapted, and triumphed. Humanity had proven its worth not through brute force alone, but through ingenuity, persistence, and spirit. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of possibilities and challenges. And humans would rise to meet them all. The once forgotten ship had become a legend, a symbol of human power, creativity, and resilience. It was a reminder to every civilization in the galaxy that humans, underestimated for centuries, were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. And as the human mechanic looked out at the endless black of space, he knew one truth above all: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. Because humans, working with their machines, could achieve the impossible. And this was only the beginning.